assemble.
Comic Book Syndicate assemble.
God's damn Comic Book Syndicate, frack 'em all.
All right, so up next we have the Wolverine movie. And there are a few things that I would like to say about it. I think one of the things with that movie was that it felt for about the first 30 minutes, I was like, are they actually doing this? Are they actually making this right? And I liked it. I liked it a lot. And I want to warn you because I have a huge spoiler, and that has to do with what they did to Deadpool. Because I could not believe that they picked Ryan Reynolds, who makes the perfect Wade Wilson. He's the merc with the mouth. He was sarcastic and he was smirky, and I liked it. They even made, the comment about his mouth, and I was like, oh, sick, they're doing the comic book merc with the mouth. That's awesome. And then the ending happened. And they made him this Weapon 11 super soldier, adamantium things coming out of his arms that wouldn't actually fit inside of his arms, and the Cyclops thing, and okay, he had the teleporting thing, so I'll believe he got the Black IP power. But I could not believe it because they didn't need it. And the fact that they sewed up his mouth, and that is what he's famous for, and that is what makes Deadpool, it ruined it. And the whole ending thing to me just felt like they were going, go big or go home. And I feel like without proper character development, it doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. And what makes me very angry is that they had it, and then it just completely lost me. And it makes me really mad because a lot of these comic books, I get very passionate. A lot of these comic books, comic book movies, they don't spend a lot of time on character development. And you can do, alternate realities, and you can do alternate storylines. Comic books do it all the time. But one thing that you really have to make sure you do is make the characters consistent and not completely go off the deep end because it just ends up pissing people off. That's my rant for right now.
It's funny you should mention that about character development because that was my complaint about X-Men 3. That if you're gonna introduce 24 new characters, I want to know something about them, or I don't care if they'll ever die.
Yeah.
And Gambit was my complaint about Wolverine.
Yeah.
And I don't know much about X-Men, just mostly what I've seen in the movies.
Okay.
But what I know about Gambit is he's French and he does cool things with cards.
He's really charming.
What do you mean you're not going to play him French? He didn't say mon ami even one time.
Okay.
And back to the sort of point about character development, when I saw the very first part of the movie where it kind of introduced, these two children, and it's kind of, back in, I would say, 1840s.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, cool. They're going to focus on his origin.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of skipped through that.
Well, it was
in the first 2 seconds.
The entire introduction, where the credits and everything come up. That's what it was. That's the whole story behind Wolverine in that 30 seconds.
That's the sort of thing that I was really excited about sitting in the theater. I was like, oh yes, they're going to go back into history. They've never done this with a character before. We don't know how long he's lived for. I was like, oh, they're going to tell other audiences who don't read X-Men or Wolverine for that matter that this guy has lived for a while. There's nothing. That's like the first maybe 20 minutes. Yeah. And then the rest of it is to justify the first 2 X-Men movies and how he lost his memory. And that's what the rest of the story is about. It's just like, are you kidding me? This is an origin story to explain the first 2 crappy movies. Okay, whatever.
Yeah. Oh, well, the other movies, they had their moments. And even this movie, that's, I think, what made it even worse because it did have its moment. Like, I actually liked the guy who played Sabretooth.
I loved him. Steve Schreiber, honestly.
Yeah.
Even the cheesy line, but he pulled it off brilliantly, was when Wolverine finally got adamantium and he saw his claws for the first time. And he's like, ooh, shiny. Yeah. He did it so well. He, perfect.
Yeah, I like that too.
The whole movie itself, character development, nothing at all whatsoever. Action scenes, awesome, very well done. Cool. And as far as entertainment and going to a movie for that alone, if you're not a huge comic book fan and you're not going to pick it apart, all of that was awesome. But it was even that was too quick. It was they wanted to get as much in as possible.
Yeah, and the worst part is they don't need to do that.
No.
And it's like they introduce half of these characters just because and I'm gonna swear because they could do cool shit. Like, I'm a mercenary, I can flip guns around, and I don't really serve a purpose, but I can flip guns around. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I can do.
Yeah.
You know, I think being an X-Men fan wrecked it for you because
That's-
I came out of that. I can't wait to see it again.
Really?
Yeah, I thought it was super cool through the whole thing. And of course, there are moments and there are comic book inconsistencies and issues, but like the Blob, I thought was totally unnecessary. What are you in 2 scenes and who cares?
But,
But overall, I thought it was great. It was really entertaining. It maybe wasn't consistent with the books, but big deal.
I really do understand that, and I think that I would feel that way about other. I probably would feel that way about other movies that I saw, and I'd be like, oh, but the thing is, it's just knowing how good the material was that they had to start with, and then where they dragged it to. Completely unnecessary. Like, going back to the beginning with the whole go big or go home syndrome, is that you don't need to do that. If you have the consistent characters, I'm not saying you need to duplicate it completely, but if you look at a lot of the successful comic books, they did that. And they already have a fan base that will go see that movie regardless. I mean, I will admit, even if I'm disappointed 5 more times over, I'm probably going to go see the movie again. I mean, and then, like I said, also, comic books do have alternate realities, but you just have to make it consistent.
Well, if this world was just made up of a bunch of women, I would be like, okay, if you like a little bit of eye candy, go and see this movie. That's pretty much about it.
Would you guys recommend it?
To the general public, sure. Anyone who enjoys X-Men and has the whole history behind them, I would probably say you'll hate it.
I recommend it to anyone who likes to see a shiny, wet Hugh Jackman running around all naked, actually.
That's pretty much all we got for this episode. So I'd like to thank everybody for allowing us to be on the show. 1, 2, 3.
Comic Book Syndicate assemble!
Can you do another one? You leap forward and go, who?
Okay. Who?
Good.
How about one that's not angry, but more like just
Who?